Hey, welcome to This Commerce Life, an unscripted podcast that focuses on the stories behind small and independent Canadian retail and Canadian CPG.
What we try and do is deliver or pull out the story of our guests and give them to you. You know, the good, the bad, the ugly of retail and CPG in Canada. We're filling a need because we think that retail is hard on the best of days, but it's also a wonderful, wonderful place to grow up and make your living.
We also think that the industry, nor the people that inadvertently find themselves in the industry, really understand the industry at all. They don't really understand what goes on behind the scenes.
So listen to us, Phil and Kenny. We'll unravel it for you. We'll give you the story. We'll give you the story behind the story.
Recording in progress.
Kenny Vanoots.
Oh, shit.
Look, Kenny has joined our meeting. I'm just finishing some of our Windsor Friends pita chips.
Oh, I like those chips.
Me too.
Those are good chips. Cedar Valley.
Cedar Valley.
I like those Cedar Valley chips.
I mean, you just got a free plug, Cedar Valley.
Yeah, that's worth it though.
You owe us now. You
owe us. Yeah. The rate this is going might be the only two that hears this recording.
Oh my gosh.
Uh-huh.
What is new, Kenny Vanoots?
Nothing. I enjoyed our expert navigator thing this morning, to be honest with you.
I did. I liked it.
I like doing
liked
those
it.
things.
I liked it. I think they're working hard to help.
I think they are too.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think they are. I just like Jordan too. I think she's really bright. She's really good at what she's doing. She's really trying hard. I think it's good. I mean, I think there's some play out there. So
Yeah.
right.
Jesse,
Hello.
how are you?
Good afternoon or whatever the hell we're at.
It's 2:00 where I am.
Noon where I am.
Okay.
There you go.
Okay.
I think it's 3:00 where he is.
It's 3:00 where I am. I'm in Toronto, so you must be in
Manitoba somewhere?
Winnipeg
No, I'm in Saskatoon.
or
Okay, so
Saskatoon.
we're in the one province that doesn't change time zones. The rest of you
Really?
crazy yahoos decided that
We're
Sunday-
changing. We went to the other one, daylight savings, which we're
Yeah.
getting shit for because we're supposed to go to standard or something. But it's BC, so we do whatever we want.
There you go. Yeah. But yeah, on Sunday, all of a sudden, all my meetings are going to shift around depending
Yeah.
on where they come from because
Yeah.
I don't change, but then you all change, and then
Yeah,
I
that's
change.
right.
Nope. You're not going to say that after this Sunday, young man.
Yeah.
BC's done. That's our
You're
last
done.
change.
You're done with
coming
it.
up, baby.
Okay.
No,
Welcome to the club.
but
Welcome
you
to the
changed
club.
to the wrong one though.
Yeah, that's not my problem. I'm just saying we're not changing anymore. Follow the conversation. Don't get nitpicky.
You're the only guy from the West Coast here. It is your decision.
No, it's not.
Why, Kenny? Why? Why would
Who
you
the
do
hell
such
knows?
a
I don't
thing?
know why we do what we do. We're just happy that we haven't changed until next year when we're all thinking, why is it so dark? And then
Yeah.
everyone's be all uptight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The evenings get a little rough, but anyway. No, thanks for having me on. This is going to be fun.
Yeah.
You think?
I'm
don't know
excited.
yet.
I think
You don't know that. You think you know that. You don't know nothing. It could go anywhere.
You seem like a fun crew just already. We're 2
you
minutes
never
in and
know.
I'm having a good
This could
time.
go
Yeah.
sideways real fast, buddy
We-
boy. And then what are you going to do?
we do our best. We do our best. Listen, for the listeners, we've got Jesse Wiebe on, and we met Jesse at the Future Food. So
Ottawa.
kind of like this in Ottawa, and it was like this high energy, let's go get them, right? Like let's win the Stanley Cup for food, whatever that cup is. But we got scarves out of it, we got all that. But what was really cool is we met Jesse there, and then Jesse does something a little bit different. He runs, he runs or he's going to tell us in a minute, but he either runs or he's part of a group called Startup TNT, and doing some kind of cool things that Kenny and I were talking about.
Actually, I'm going to learn just as much because you and Phil and Jesse did all the talking at that show.
We did.
I think I was
Yeah.
talking Ishkander, so I
Yeah.
missed most of the conversation. But
Yeah.
Phil was all excited, and
You know,
Jesse looked like he was excited. So
It
which means
also
I
it
guess
also
I have
doesn't
to
really
be
matter
excited.
because I could have told him about you, and he'd be like,
I wouldn't have remembered.
Oh, like who was that? So,
Actually, I think you say, you know,
um,
the big guy who was I was talking to about something. Yeah, I think I remember him now. I don't
There
remember.
you go. Yeah. Well, everybody's always surprised when I meet when I just meet them on Zoom how tall I am. So you got it in reverse this
yeah,
time.
we got the reverse for sure. Okay, so this the next kind of like 45, 50 minutes is yours, sir. What we would love is if you introduced yourself properly, because I did nothing there except, you know, all we revealed was that you're from
You got a
Saskatoon,
name.
you don't do a time change, and that
Yes.
you're part of Startup TNT. That's about it, and that you're very tall. That's all.
Very good.
So if you can introduce yourself, tell us about you. We'll probably want to figure out who the heck you are exactly, but we'll do that over the course of this conversation. And then Startup TNT is very, very interesting. I feel like lots of our CPG brethren will be interested in this topic, so
Give
we're
us the
excited to
pre
have
that
you
though
on.
first. I'd like a little history because
Yeah,
Oh,
just
totally. I'll
yeah,
start at the
give me who
beginning.
you are,
yeah,
like what's going on.
yeah. Okay, so floor is yours, sir.
Awesome. Well, yeah, I was happy. Thank you for having me on
Yeah,
here. It was great to meet you. Love your energy and excited to have this conversation with you here today. So yeah, I always like to start at the beginning. I grew up here in Saskatchewan on a farm just northwest of Saskatoon for the most part. My family were also involved in economic development. We moved and lived in Bangladesh and Dhaka from 91 to 94, from two until I was five. So I always like to say, in a lot of ways, I was born there because that's my earliest childhood memories.
yeah,
So I've always sort of been a citizen of the globe and wanting to travel and meet people. But yeah, then grew up in small town Saskatchewan on a small farm and the son of an entrepreneur. My father was a serial entrepreneur through the 80s and 90s and built two companies in particular. One was called Cirrus Fertilizer. It used a uranium mined waste stream to create a sulfate fertilizer for various
What did you
applications
do?
in farming.
What? One more time?
Using so uranium mine has a waste stream that creates sulfate, and sulfate is
And
one of
it's usable? Like, because I
yeah.
think
Well,
you
you
might
have to
go
do
right
some
down the,
processing. No, it's fine. Yeah,
oh,
you have to do some processing, but most people talk about MP and K when they talk about what you need on the
yeah,
fertilizer side.
right.
Well, the other one you need is you need sulfates, and so he worked with a tribal council
All
to
right.
get it transported from far north in Saskatchewan all the way down, and built a successful business. He merged it with a salt block business, so that's more in the livestock space, and then he took a buyout offer from his business partner, and that was in 2002. And then just so happened there was another company he had started back in 1979, was the original company, and he spun it out in 81. It was called Farm Fax. The original company, you would literally fax your books to them, and they would do up your books and they'd fax them back to you. Well, him and a few other farmers that were part of the team were like, well, why do we need to do all the services side? Why don't we just sell the software of this farm accounting software? And so they spun it out. It was called Settler Computer Technologies. But many people, if they're in and around FCC today, would know it as it was the first company ever acquired, as far as we know, by the federal government. In fact, the governor general had to sign the term sheet because they didn't know where the buck stopped. And today, it's known as Ag Expert. It's the farm accounting platform.
no
That
Ag
is so
way.
cool. Wow.
So it's a pretty crazy story. We actually did a whole session at Saskatoon Startup Week this last year where I got to learn all
Yeah,
kinds of little interesting details. And one of the things that was so interesting for me now that I work in startup worlds for the last 5 years is the universality of that story, right?
yeah,
It was a group of all farmers. There wasn't a single accountant on the team, so they were developing for their own uses. And in
yeah,
particular, their dev told them with the original floppy disk, they had something like 18 kilobytes left on the disk. When they made the original program, it was a floppy disk, and they had 18 kilobytes left. And they're like, well, what do we use? This is valuable real estate, right? 18 kilobytes. What are we going to do with that? Right. And so they're like, well, this is the 80s. And for those that grew up around that time, then
yeah,
interest rates were crazy.
yeah,
Right. And so thinking about debt and how you manage debt was really important. And so they came up with a debt calculator. Well, it turns out that was the viral feature, right? That thing went gangbusters for him. Everybody wanted that feature. In fact, so much that the banks were asking for it because the banks didn't have a feature that good. And so the farmers were showing up to the bank with better calculations than the loan
That's
officer had.
awesome.
That's
Right?
awesome.
So anyway, so this is what I grew up with, and he also, he did pretty well off of those two exits, and then that was kind of the beginning of a 20-year run up from 2002 to more recently on land prices, and we grew the farm operation. I graduated high school in 2007, tried to do engineering at Waterloo for a little while, and chemical engineering. Realized I didn't want to do that. I tried to be a chef for a little while, and that led to sort of a 10-year career also while I was in school again at York University for economics, where I worked in the restaurant industry. So I have a lot of experience in hospitality and in restaurants. Lived in England for a couple of years in there. Worked in one of Ramsay's restaurants for a month, and that killed my whole dream of wanting to be a chef. I
That was
didn't.
it for food, eh?
That was it for at least for that aspect. I ended up
Wow.
becoming a cocktail maker and a bar manager through my school. But eventually got my economics degree at York. A little later in life, was working in some economic development roles in Toronto when COVID hit, and my job went out the window. And then shortly thereafter, in the summer of 2020, the apartment above mine set on fire, and then my girlfriend of 5 years broke up with me. So rule of three, if your life implodes, move home. So
Did
mom
you
said, "Come
set the
on."
fire above you? Like, is the
Sometimes
girlfriend
I
I
do.
wasn't
leaving
gonna
and
ask
the?
that. I wasn't even gonna. I went there mentally, but I didn't
I
come out
just
with that.
wondered. I was gonna ask what everyone's
Sometimes I
gonna ask.
wonder if the universe, was pushing me home and said, "Hey,
Get out, Jesse. Get out. Get out. Get out,
yeah,
Jesse.
yeah. We've been trying to tell you forever. Go home."
That's awesome.
But yeah, because it worked out really well. I came home, I licked my wounds for a bit, and then had some long conversations with my father about what was next for me and for our family. Right? I can trace my lineage back to Germany in the 1500s, and that's
Wow.
basically how long my family have been farmers.
Yeah.
As we're Mennonites, and Mennonites have been farmers for a long, long time.
Yeah.
But me and my brother were the end. We did not want to take that on. My dad had developed a unique joint venture model that you can read about in Country Guide if you look it up, about how to transition the farm to a non-family member, and we've been doing that already for about 15 years now. And so I knew that there was going to be money there, but what we were going to do with it as a
Right.
family was kind of up in the air.
Hmm.
And so
Hmm.
we started having some conversations about maybe building my own company, maybe buying a company, maybe investing in other people's companies, and essentially landed on what is commonly known in the finance world as a family office, right? So a structured way of doing investments as a family. We're much smaller than most traditional family offices. When people think about that, they're thinking of folks like the Weston family with a really big operation. But there are families like ours that have done well over the last 30, 40 years, and are now looking to create that transition to the next generation, right?
Hmm.
To kind of from the boomers to the millennials, and this was a great way for us to do it. And from that, we started exploring some different ideas, and some of my contacts in my network, I started reaching out to them, and I jumped on a call, and that's where I reconnected with a man by the name of David Jansen. He's a fractional COO, but very close with the two co-founders of TNT. And so that was the spring of 2021, and I've been kind of with the organization ever since, and now the longest serving employee there. But yeah, maybe I'll pause there, and we can tell the story of TNT, or we can talk about whatever you guys want to talk about.
No, keep going.
No, keep going.
I'm just going for the
Okay.
ride.
Captivated audience. We're
Yeah,
along for the
whatever, man.
ride
I'm going
now.
for the ride.
Yeah.
Go.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, so Startup TNT was originally founded in Edmonton in 2019 by Zach Storms, and then Tim Lin came along 6 weeks later. Zach, on his 35th birthday, convinced his wife to let him run a happy hour every Thursday night for a year and see what happens, and calling it Startup TNT. TNT stands for Thursday Night Tradition, right? So there's that element to it. Of course, obviously, there's the whole fun of like we're blowing up the startup space, we're helping companies,
Yeah.
go up, and all of that. But that's really where it originally started. And 6 weeks after starting that, Tim had been told about it from a friend of his who works in venture capital, in large part because he was a startup founder previously himself. He had helped take a company down to Toronto and then to SF, and they had sold it, and then he moved back. And he loves Edmonton. He wanted to grow Edmonton, and so did Zach. And Zach had done some angel investing as well. And they both identified like the biggest problem in their market that was keeping a lot of their friends from staying there and building their companies there was the lack of capital that was available from local individuals. And even since then, we've kind of evolved our understanding. There's sort of a few big bucket reasons why high net worths and high income earners are not investing in startups in the community. Big one is that if you're doing it on your own directly, you're going to have to write a 25,000 or $50,000 check at a minimum because the company doesn't want to take checks smaller than that. And then when you think about portfolio construction and the fact that these are high risks in bets, you have to place 10, 20, or more of these bets in order to be able to take advantage of the power law and actually get the kinds of returns that you're looking for. So just those two numbers alone, you're talking about an asset allocation of 250 grand to $1 million. So for most people, right, who meet the threshold of what's called accreditation, which is a securities regulation where you have to make over 200K a year or a million in net worth in order to be allowed to invest in startups as a private individual. Most people on that spectrum can't do the investing simply from an economics perspective,
Mm.
right? And then on top of that, you have an additional layer of friction in so much that most people don't come from a tech or startup background where they can evaluate these kinds of
Right.
companies and understand how they work. And a lot of first time investors with us will be like, this company's making no money. Why is it worth $5 million? This makes no sense at all. Right. My company is doing $1 million a year and it's worth $3 million. Right. Because traditional mainstream businesses are easy to evaluate, but startups run in a different world. Right, so you have that, and then you also have sort of the legal complexities, right? They're dealing with a different type of investment vehicle called a SAFE, right? Simple Agreement for Future Equity. It came from Y Combinator in the Valley, but those are very uncommon for more traditional mainstream investors to look at, and so there's just all of this complexity, right? And so the model they identified all these issues early on, right? And so how do we solve for this? Well, there's a model. It was originally, we found out about it from Seattle. I'm sure there's a lot of groups now in Canada that use it. The Okanagan Angels, our friends over at Spring Impact use it as well, where you get investors to pre-commit capital. In our case, it's $5,000. They pay a small fee, 500 bucks. And then over an 8 week period, they collaborate as a team to filter through the companies that apply for that funding. And the total pool will be about 100 to 150 grand initially. But as they filter through, obviously they're looking at all of these companies, and we're cutting it down from like 40 to 20 to 10 to 5. The five pitch at the finale night. We do a final deliberation, then we pick one at the end that gets the pot as a real investment. And we've negotiated deals with all five before we put them on stage at the end. So then our often what will happen is there'll be a couple of camps, right? People are like, this one's number one. No, this one's number one. And what we say, well, let's just invest in both of them regardless of the outcome. Right, so we've run this now 50 times, right? Starting from our first one in 2020, the spring of 2020. And we've invested in 120 companies. So on average, about 2.5 companies per summit are receiving investment, raising $21 million total from over 550 individual investors. So
That's amazing.
that's what we've
That's
done now
super
for
cool.
over the last 6 years. Yeah. So that's Startup TNT in a nutshell. And then for a little more context on the connection here to the food folks. So obviously my background, as you mentioned, as I talked about, is from the ag and food space. And when I first joined, we had a clean tech program. So we had started doing sectoral programs that were cross-regional. Most of our programming is regionally based. We have an Edmonton, a Calgary, a Saskatchewan program. We've also run a Manitoba program and a BC program that are currently being relaunched. But then we've also run clean tech, and then we added life sci, and then I built agri-food. And large part I built the agri-food program because of my background, but also because of the opportunity I saw to get those individuals that had done well in the agri-food sector to invest back in the next stage of innovation, right?
Right.
That's a big piece of what we're trying to do, right? Is we're getting those boomers and Gen Xers generally, right? Some of them are a little younger that have been very successful, right, in their community to invest back into their community, right? That's sort of the overarching mission vision. And so when you apply that to the agri-food sector, right, what it thinks it really does is help solve one of the big problems that is often brought up in early stage innovation in agri-food, is that there aren't the people who are in the industry helping pick the winners in that
Yeah.
industry,
Hmm.
right? And so if you get somebody like the former CEO of Red Bull Canada, he also did Muscle Milk Canada and Jewel Canada, so great CPG guy, to lead the charge on investing, you end up with an outcome like we did last spring, where we had a great company called V-Gain Nutrition out of Vancouver,
Yeah.
that now has him on their board, right?
Okay.
And
Nice.
he's able to provide significant value to them beyond just the
Yeah.
dollars that we invested,
Right.
right? And so that's what we're trying to do with our agri-food program. It's powered by FCC, which is a real full circle moment for me that they bought our company. We were able to use that capital, and now
That's
we're
awesome,
investing
man.
because of it. And now they're backing us, teaching other people to invest. So yeah, that's the story of TNT and the agri-food program. It's fully national, so companies can apply from across the country. We do one sort of major intake per year in the spring, where companies from sort of everything from really really early to even getting ready for like a Series A round are welcome to apply. But then in the fall, we will be running a program more focused on kind of companies that more of that seed to Series A round and really helping them with their next round. But at the end of the day, that's what we're trying to do is activate more capital, help companies figure out how to fundraise properly, and then help them get out there and commercialize. So
Wow.
there we go.
And you've done how many of these? 120?
Sorry, 50
50.
times we've run this summit
Yeah.
program, like the 8 weeks with the
Yeah,
pre-committed
yeah, yeah.
capital, and we've
50
invested in
times.
120 companies. Yeah.
You
Can
should
I
look more
ask? You don't
tired
have to
than
tell
you
me.
do.
Sorry?
I said you should look more tired than you do. 50 of
Yeah.
these.
Well, they got so many people though. Did you hear him? I think there's more time. I think there'd be more time
No,
fighting
no,
it out.
he's been there the longest. He's probably been through all 50 now. So, like,
Almost. No, I joined late, right? So I missed like the first four or something like
oh,
that.
So
well.
can I
Well,
But
ask
other
you,
than
like,
God.
that, yeah.
if I can ask you, you don't have to tell me, but like, what kind of success rate are we talking here? Because it sounds like there's a whole bunch that start in the bucket. We vet them out by this, whether it's, well, it sounds like up 20 to 30 people, 100 to
Yep.
150 grand, 20 to 30, 5,000 each, right? Can do the math.
Yep. Yep.
It's something like that. And we argue it out nicely because we're all
It's
nice
all
people.
structured. We basically follow the process that a VC firm would follow. So
Okay.
on the initial application, we get a pitch deck and some basic
Yeah.
information. Based on that, we determine whether or not we think it's worth it for a first meeting. We have a first meeting with them. We do a little talking about the meeting. We do a little bit of, Google foo research,
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah.
and find some stuff. And then we determine the 10 companies we actually think are really worthwhile to dig into, and we get what's called a data room, which essentially is all the documents that define the business, everything from legal to business plan, financial model,
Right.
IP, all of it, right? We dig into that for a couple more weeks. We're talking about it. We're meeting with the companies. We're asking additional questions. And then we're voting again, and we cut it to five. And then those five get to pitch at the finale night. For the spring here, it's going to be on April 9th in Calgary. It's open to the public. It's also on our Zoom, or sorry, on it's on Zoom, but it's on YouTube. Sorry, you can watch it on YouTube live if you want. And then those companies pitch one more time, and then the lead up to that, we're doing reference checks. We're doing
Hmm.
demos of the IP. We're double
Hmm.
checking everything. We're getting our lawyers friends to look it over that we have around the
Yeah.
table.
Yeah.
And then we're structuring a deal with each of them, right? So sometimes they'll already have a deal in place with some other investors, and we'll just take that and we'll follow in on that. But often they don't, right? Often
Right.
we're the first check in, and so then we'll structure typically on a safe, as I mentioned earlier, an investment there, and eventually, essentially, what we end up voting on at the very end is which term sheet do you think is the best one for us to sign as a group. It's a ranked ballot voting system amongst the group. So at the end, you got five. First gets 5 points, two gets 4 points, so on and so forth. And then, the winner gets the pot. But as I mentioned, the investors can choose to invest more into the winner
Right.
or into any of the companies around the
Right.
table. And it can often happen sometimes where the side deals, depending on how deep the pockets are of the interested investors, can even get more
Right.
than the winner did.
Right, right, right.
Yeah. So yeah, so yeah, you asked the question, Kenny, how are these companies doing,
Well, I
right?
think that, yeah, because now
Yeah.
I'm thinking, okay, that's cool. And like, because there's nothing wrong with VC.
Yes.
Well, premise there, which means that I always think there's something wrong with VC. But there's nothing wrong with VC conceptually. It's just
Yes.
sometimes the people around it just cause issues. But you
Totally.
guys have got like 20, 30 people. Everybody seems to be on board trying to just, you know what I mean? Like you can't be, it's too many fish to be a shark. So it's kind
Yeah.
of, it feels like it actually works for the person who's receiving the money. So
Yeah.
then back to the sort of like how are we doing now then? Like, because this sounds like a really cool, not like this is, I hate to say it this way, not like this bandit or a guy coming in and is, buying for 10 cents on the dollar or whatever. It
Yeah, I get
doesn't
what you're
feel
saying.
that way.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. And one of the things I'll preface with too is yes, we sort of generally focus on venture scale, hyper growth type companies coming through our program. That's what we're sort of educating our investors on is how do you take high risk bets.
Right.
uh, but one of the benefits of being an angel investor versus a pure VC firm is that there are multiple pathways that angels can take and
Right.
push with their companies, right? In large part, I'll give a shout out to Bryce Shashuk. For those who don't know him, he was the former CEO of Wind Mobile, who sold to Shaw. He works very closely with CDL, and also has an outfit called Mindframe Connect that does some really great work on educating people on mentorship and also menteeship and being a good mentee. And one of the things that he often or has recently been talking about is the concept of the mighty middle, which is this idea sort of countering the Silicon Valley binary approach to companies. In the Valley, they talk it's either venture scale or it's a lifestyle business, right? It's either one or the
Mm-hmm.
other. Right. Well, in reality, it's a spectrum, right?
Right.
And there are plenty of companies that if you set the entry valuation at a reasonable number, 2.5, 5 million, and they sell for 25, 50 million, we all walk away happy, right? If I as an angel investor make a 10x multiple in 5 to 10 years, I'm happy as an angel investor, right? And so those outcomes are possible. And then the founder who had this company is now a multimillionaire, right?
Right.
Now
And there's
they
nobody
can go
really
out
losing
and
on it.
reinvest, right? Not everybody has to be a smart suites, right? Not everybody
Right.
has to shoot
Yeah.
for the moon. There are opportunities where you can shoot for that middle ground. We can play Moneyball in Canada. We don't all have to, be the New York Yankees,
That is
right?
so
So
cool, man.
yeah. So that's
Not
one of
that
the
that
things that
worked well
we
for the
talk about.
Yankees last year either. So there you
Yeah,
go.
there you go, right? Yeah. But to your question too on winners and how we're doing. We've had a few exits, I'll say that, and they've been positive. Generally in what's known as secondaries. So basically there's three ways to get out of a company, right? It goes IPO, right? And you can sell your shares now because there's liquidity. There's an M&A opportunity. Where somebody comes along and buys it. And then there's secondaries where somebody just buys your shares directly. Usually you'll
Right.
have to take a discount on that to what you could make. That's what we've been experiencing so far as downstream investors invest in our companies and they want to take on a bigger allocation in the business. They'll buy us out. I should also say there's a fourth way too. The company gets profitable and starts issuing dividends, right? And you make money
Which is
that way.
okay too.
Yeah, which is totally okay. We have a couple of companies that are approaching that milestone as well.
That's awesome.
And so,
Huh.
yeah, a prime one that I think that would be interested to some of the folks in some of the food space. That's more of a tech play. It's called Scription. They've been doing very well. If you look them up, they raised a very large seed round. Led by some Class A firms, and what they're doing is providing basically a subscription for like the McDonald's ice cream machine that never seems to work. There'll be someone there that would come and fix it on more of a subscription basis. It's essentially insurance against the breakdown of equipment in a restaurant or a bar or that kind of thing. That's what they're focused on. But then, yeah, as I mentioned earlier, we have a great company in the CPG space called VGain that received investment from us last spring. They were mentioned on the Rogan podcast
Yeah.
within the
Yeah.
last
No,
year.
they
They're
got
doing
their
great.
voice.
Yeah, they're doing
Yeah,
great. Yeah,
we love them.
Wow.
Yeah,
yeah.
great founders, great founders. But yeah, there's a
Huh.
number of companies we're also still riding the J curve on, right? As people like to say, where it takes a little bit of time. They're trying to figure things out. One of my favorite companies that's in the sort of the construction tech space. It took him a few years to figure it out, and he had to pivot a few times. But now, he's off to the races, and I
Right.
think he's going to do very, very well this year. And we're all going to be jumping up and down that we made the right choice way back in 21.
That's cool. So it's financial help, clearly.
Yes.
Um, you've got 20 to 30 investors. A few of them could be, like you said before, like maybe more involved mentorship kind of thing, board type of thing. Do you guys provide anything else? Is there, I don't know. I don't know. Like what else did like, I mean, that's a lot, but like what else do you do?
Yeah.
Did you just ask what else?
Yeah, yeah,
Well, I'm
yeah.
thinking,
Do
what the
more.
hell? He's not sleeping. Look at him. He's always
Jesse,
he's
I don't
awake all
know.
the
Not
time.
doing
50
enough.
of these things. Oh, sorry, 46
Hey,
of these things. Like, what are you sitting
I'm
around on your
talking
ass
for
in
the, I'm
Saskatoon?
talking
Like,
for the
what
little
the?
guys. The little guys want to know that what else can
Jeez.
I get?
Yeah, well, I mean, so a big thing for us on the funder side. So yes, we're very focused on trying to activate capital, get it off the sidelines, get more people investing in Canada. For
Right.
those following me on LinkedIn, you'll see a recent series of posts I've been making talking about 5% for Canada. That, when you think about overall asset allocations for high net worths, they talk about 5% is that number you should be putting into sort of this high risk asset class. So we're working hard on that, but that said, we do, have a fair amount of work that we do on the founder side. It's more of a byproduct, but it is important. In particular, we're a candid feedback engine. So because of the way we stage gate our process, as you hit a stage gate and you can't get past that for whatever reason with us, we'll give you the real reason why,
Mhm.
right? And just this week, I was doing, the feedback sessions for our not top 20 companies. So basically, they can't seem to get past the pitch deck to a first meeting with anybody,
Mhm.
Right.
right? And articulating to them, here's really why you're not getting that first meeting, and how you need to get an investor's attention, how an investor thinks, because most people don't know, right? And then, you with the top 20, it's about that first meeting. And you'd be shocked how many founders don't understand how to act in a meeting with an investor, right? They have no clue. And one of the things we actually did a couple of times is do a mock DD meeting and just show people what a good one looks like. Because with like basketball, for example, I'm a big basketball fan. Right, you can watch the NBA, you can watch college basketball, you can see what good looks like, right, and then you can try to emulate that as
Yeah,
you're learning and growing.
yeah,
Nobody knows what good looks like when it comes to raising money,
yeah,
right? Because nobody gets brought into the room to watch somebody else do it. Right. But thankfully I've invested in a couple of VC funds from our family office, and they brought me into some of their meetings. So I got to just see, oh, that's what it looks like. So as I was learning how to be a better investor, I was able to learn from seeing it. I was like, well, why don't we do that for founders? So we've done that a few times. And so you get that, and then with the data room and so on and so forth. And there's been times where one in particular I'll always remember. They made the top five stage, and the company had somebody involved. We had dug out that turns out they were a bit of a fraud. And there was a big blacklist red flag, right? And we didn't know how to explain it to them ahead of time, but they didn't win, and they didn't get a side deal, and they came up to me at the happy hour or the after party, and I mean, I had a couple of drinks, so I was a little more lubed up, but I was like, what, I should just tell him, right? And I told him, I was like, hey, that guy in your business is a fraud. And then he was immediately, I knew it. I knew it. Nobody would tell me. But I knew it the whole
Oh,
time, and he's like, "Can you guys help me get rid of him?" Right? Can you? And I ran into him at a conference recently. They're doing great,
yeah.
That's
right?
awesome.
And these are the kinds of things like you need people like this in the ecosystem that are willing to give that real candid
You need
feedback
honesty. I
and to
mean, I
help
think
us
that's the thing
understand.
that our industries are sometimes funny is that, you know, I can bullshit and spin rainbows up your butt all day. It doesn't help you. It doesn't, there's no win in that ultimately. Why don't you just straight goods,
Yes, and there's a
right? And you
Canadian.
should all be big kids. So you should be able to
Yeah,
take the critique and just
yeah.
learn from it or ask, okay, smart ass, if that's what it is, help me. Like, what do I do? That's the should be the purpose, no?
Absolutely. Right. And I think far too many Canadians, especially on the asset allocation, capital allocator side, are willing to kind of give you that Canadian no or an excuse of you're too early or show me more sales and all that. Like, tell them the real reason why,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I don't
right?
like the
Don't
people
just
you're
string them
dealing with.
along. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah, so we do that, and then we are not for profit. We have a large number of different organizations around the table, from federal economic development, FCC, as I mentioned for the egg program, folks like Innovation Saskatchewan, Alberta Innovates, but then also various sponsors, especially service providers like lawyers with Osler, MLT Aikens, McKercher here in Saskatchewan, MNP on the accounting side,
Yeah.
and so, with all these great people around the table, and the fact that we're sort of this connector, we bring those folks in as well to help, provide, advice around particular subject matter areas, and services. Because often, what can happen for a founder is just like, I don't. There's all this stuff, right? Between the grants and all the services offerings and the incubators and the accelerator programs, and there's so many things that they can support, right? And so often what we're doing is just being like, this is the one that you should do.
Right.
This is not the one you should do. Ignore that. Focus on
Mm-hmm.
this, right?
Right.
And so just helping them figure that piece out, because we have all these different folks around the table.
I think if I go back to that for a second,
Yeah.
showing folks what that process is like of getting a seed funding, investor funding, such a big deal. I got the chance to work at a couple of startups coming out of retail brands that I work with, and the first time I saw it, I was just like, oh my god! Like, I think it feels like what they really want is a liver biopsy, and I've kind of watched them turn the founder inside out, and like there are a lot of little bits in there that nobody would know if you've never been, and then how would you know if you've never been through the process? But so all of those things, I think it's I think it's amazing. Like, I think helping them understand it's not different. Like, so it is different, but it's not. Is like when Kenny and I, when we go through what a buyer thinks about, like, so when a brand gets to someone like a Loblaws or Sobeys or what they think about, it's the same thing, right? Because they kind of go, I don't get it. Like, I'm a Canadian darling. So in my neighborhood, everybody loves me. My mom, my cousins, everybody buys the product. And you go, sorry, they don't give a shit, right? Like, they really
Yeah.
don't. Like, so they don't give a
Don't
shit about
care.
any of that stuff, right? Like, what do the numbers look like? Could you sell a lot more? What does it take to sell a lot more?
How
Are
much
you the
money
guy
are
that
you
can
going to
get them there?
need?
Like, all of those things, the investor side is the flip side of that coin is like,
Yep.
how tough are you, and are you legit, and are you just doing this really fast in your basement, or like, do you know what I mean? Like,
Totally. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
all these things, like, yeah.
It makes it well. See, that's the thing, right? To your point, um, you know, people often get caught a little bit in like the curse of knowledge too,
Yeah,
right? Where they can't seem to understand what someone who doesn't know what they know knows, right? Because they literally
yeah,
can't empathize with them.
yeah,
Like,
yeah,
we've
yeah,
done that in
Right.
yeah,
behavioral studies.
yeah,
And then because of that, like, especially with more like scientific founders and engineers and those kind of people, they're like, it's just better. Like, why can't we just do it? Because it's just better, right? And this tastes better, right? And the numbers make sense on my
yeah,
spreadsheet. Like, why
yeah,
why can't we just do it, right? It's like that's just not how the world
yeah,
works. And
No.
and
yeah,
you need to come up with a compelling case. And I think you're exactly right. Is our process is often that first sandbox that they're going to play in, outside of that core group that's just cheering them on simply because they know them really well, and
yeah,
and they're
yeah,
they're proud to see their
yeah,
buddy being an entrepreneur. right? And I think even more so than anything else, what we often end up being for a lot of folks is a therapist in a lot of ways,
Yeah.
because they start
Yeah.
doing it for a while, they realize, oh shit, this is actually really hard,
Yeah.
and I don't really have a lot of people to talk to about it. I mean,
Yeah.
that's one of the purposes of
Yeah.
the Thursday night tradition, is like I want to hang out with other like-minded people that I can, bitch about the fact that I haven't hit my payroll or I'm not going to hit my payroll this week, because I can't talk about that with my employees. And my wife's not going to get it either because then she's going to freak out, right? Or, whatever. And so I need somebody I can talk this with. I need an outlet, right?
Yeah.
And
They need to know they're not alone, right? Because the
yeah,
Yeah.
challenge with a lot of these people, it's like it's their own problem. You're thinking, buddy, this problem is as old as time. Everybody
yes,
has this problem. It's not, you're not that special on this one. I'm glad you're not, to be honest, because we could fix, because a million people have had the same problem.
yes, exactly, right. And I think that community, one of my favorite moments, and it's happened a number of times with folks who really start coming in our community, is when they say, "I think I found my people." Right? I think I just found my people.
That's amazing.
Right.
That's really
And
cool, man. Like
yeah, because
seriously,
that's what
that's
I had, right? It was literally 2 weeks in. We joined as investors in the spring of 2021. And 2 weeks into the process, I was like, this is amazing. It was still COVID at the time, so it was all virtual, and I knew it had to go back to being in person. And I was like, this is amazing. These are my people. These are the people I want to spend, the rest of my life around. I want to build my life, my career for till I die around these kinds of people.
right.
And if I'm going to do it, I got to bring it to Saskatchewan, right? So that's what I did, right?
Hmm.
And then the thing is, you start to travel across this country, and you realize there's a lot of people in this country that want to be building, that want
Yep.
to shoot for the moon,
Yep.
right? We say so often in Canada, we're, this country of folks that won't take risk, right? We're not risk takers. I was like, how are you paying attention? And like, there are people all across this country
All the
that are
time.
all the time.
All the time.
Yeah.
People in resource industries, people who farm. You're not
Yes.
talking that, you don't think that's high risk?
Oh,
Absolutely,
Like
right?
you
seriously. How many
you talk
small
to
businesses do we have in this country?
Yeah,
That's all risk.
we have
absolutely.
so many interviews with people. Like we were talking to
Seriously.
the Hopcott Farms people out in BC, and he was like, yeah, we planted those trees over there. It took like 20 years to get apples." And you're like, "What? Like, so what'd you
How
do
does
for
that make
20?"
any
They're like,
sense? Like, why
"Well,
would you do
we
that?
just know that it takes 20, so we'll do stuff in between." You're like, "Are you insane? Like, how is this a thing, right?" But they do
Yeah.
it all the time, and they don't like you just all over this country they're doing it, and
People
like
just do a lot of cool
we
shit in
can't
this
talk
country.
we can't talk to enough guys. Like we've
No,
got like 500 episodes, and we barely even started. Like there
Yeah.
are amazing stories in this country.
exactly.
Like
Yeah. No,
yeah,
and kudos to you for telling those stories because we need
We
more
need these
people.
stories.
yeah, we're doing our
Absolutely, we
best.
do. Right?
Because you know what we're like as Canadians. Who do
Yes.
we tell? We don't tell anybody anything. We
Yes.
just nice and quiet. We got friends to the south that talk about everything all the time, good, bad, or indifferent,
Yes.
and we do great things and we tell nobody.
So,
Absolutely.
so I want to flip this for a second, and
Yes.
so I want to be clear because we don't normally plug anything, but I'm free plugging for Jesse, and Jesse didn't put me up to it. We didn't even talk about it, but like me in particular, of the three of you, like, so I know a lot of CPG folks who have worked in tier one Fortune 100 companies, right?
Yes.
And guys, if you're listening, it is March 5th, so I know that your bonuses all just came out.
Put them somewhere, man.
Um,
Yeah.
Let's go.
all Jesse needs from you is $5,000.
It's like nothing.
Like 5,000 measly dollars, and you could be an investor in the next rockin'
Yeah,
Canadian
and go
company.
Canada, go, man.
Yes.
And all of you CPG people, I know you have the money. Like, fucking get on this. Like, I
Yeah.
don't like it's
Like,
it's the thing
seriously.
actually, right? Because you kind of go, if you ever, because I think all CPG people think the same thing at some point is they go, I can do this. Like I've done this for a million
So
years,
do it.
like doing Fortune 100 shit, right? Like so you kind of go, but now's your chance, right? Now's your chance to actually try and figure out how to pick a winner, how to get
Right.
in a room with other people and try and figure out, and then maybe you actually make something out of this and get your money back and a little bit more even, right? Like,
The thing is, like,
And
and we're talking, so we're just so clear, right? 5 grand is a lot of money for a lot of people,
oh,
right? The
absolutely.
specific groups we're talking
yeah,
about, this is
but
bonus money.
I'm
It's over and
talking,
above. And it honestly, you're looking for, if you want to really help the country and you want to do something cool, and there might be high reward, high risk. I get it.
But
But it's
let
one
me
of
let
those
me narrow it
bets.
even more because
Let's
I have a
go.
very specific audience that I know. So if you are someone I know that has a key account in your title, brand manager in your title, sales strategy, trade marketing,
Yeah.
Seriously,
guys, and
come
if you're
on.
connected to me, you know it. Like there's 5 grand you could put up
You're
and
gonna blow more
you
on
could get a
coffees in a
chance to
year.
like actually invest in a Canadian company that's
Exactly.
doing something cool. So
But
No,
this is
no,
what
anyway,
we need to do.
Jesse
Let's
didn't put me
go.
up to this. We didn't even talk about it. I haven't seen him since Ottawa, but I know that those guys, you guys are all listening, and right now you're all looking out the window from the car, going, "Not me, not
Gordon's gonna
me."
do it.
I'm talking to you. Fucking, it's 5 grand. Jesse needs the money, and then you can go
Let's
right.
go.
Like you can
it's
be
not
part of
me.
the
I don't
audience.
want
So
the
sorry, sorry,
country
sorry.
needs the money.
Startup
No,
TNT, and then
yeah,
eventually a
startup,
startup brand.
Let's
right?
But yes,
go.
Yeah,
but Jesse's the gatekeeper. So,
yeah,
you got to
Let's
get through
go.
him and then, so how does that work? So let's say
yeah.
a bunch of my, friends listening on the radio and have now come back to reality and went, yes, I could do this. What do they do? Like,
What
so
does
they
that mean?
contact Startup TNT. Like, do they
Yeah. I
just
mean, my email
e-transfer
is
Jesse Wiebe 5,000?
yeah, yeah, yeah. So, I mean, it's pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can email me at Jesse at startuptnt.com.
Okay.
Our website also has a Google form or a form on there that you can just fill out. It pops up in our system right away. I'll reach out to you. But yeah, essentially how it works is we get you for an onboarding. We get them to give us all their sort of legal information so we can set up the paperwork for them. As you can imagine, our ops team has to handle a lot of cats. For context, on the 550 investor, we're talking something like 3,000 checks that we've had to deal with over the years. So lot of admin load, but our team does an amazing job on that. Um, and you transfer us the money. There's a $500 one-time fee. We take no additional fees. If you invest more, you don't pay any additional fee,
Hmm.
right? So you can
Okay.
always invest more. And as I mentioned, you can build a portfolio. In nearly 5 years now, my family office has built a portfolio of almost 45 companies. So you can do it pretty quickly for relatively low. I know a number of folks that have like a 10 to 15 company portfolio for less than 100 grand, and are able to, and they've done that over multiple years. And then yeah, you jump into the process. Depending on when you're hearing this, the window could still be open here for the spring one. We're about to cut to 10. As you mentioned, it's March 5th, so on the weekend on the 8th, we'll be cutting to 10. But
So
then
sorry, on that point. So if they hear this next Monday,
What happens?
they can reach out right away.
chop
I can
chop.
get them in. They can still get in
Okay.
before
Okay.
the end of the week. Yeah.
And if not, we're working on the fall.
Yeah. Otherwise, yeah, we're working on the fall.
Okay.
There's an opportunity for them to join then,
Right.
or again next year.
Right. Well,
At
just in
the
case
same time.
Phil's friends are a little slow on the uptake, I don't
Yeah,
know
but I mean,
more.
reach
Gotta
out.
give them,
There's
okay.
lots of ways to plug in. Like our events are public. You're welcome to attend them. You're welcome to watch them. We are national. Part of our mandate is to do more events in and around things like the Future Food Conference in Ottawa,
That's
working
cool.
with our partners. We do stuff, big things around Ag in Motion here in Saskatoon, bringing people together. So if you're wanting to start getting plugged into our network, getting to know
Hmm.
us, we can do that right away. And one thing I'll just note for these folks too, that you're talking about in particular, right? Is yeah, you're gonna put the dollars in, yeah, you're gonna get it in return, but you're also gonna have an opportunity to really give back, right? And to put a ladder down to that next
Yes.
generation
Yes.
and help pull them
Yeah.
up, right?
Yeah.
And help. Even often the value you can give is so much more than just the dollars. It's those connections you have,
Right.
right? It's the relationships, the doors you can open for these startups, because that's what they need, right? And they need those opportunities at the really early stage. When we talk about, there's lots of people taking risk in Canada, but one of the areas where we need to see more risk is in these big companies, right? Taking a risk on a
Right.
pilot, right, with an early stage company, taking the risk on sticking a new brand on your store shelves at your grocery store.
Yeah.
And giving them a chance, right?
Yeah.
Obviously, you should do your own due diligence on everything. Don't give everybody a chance, but we've got to build space
Yeah.
innovators to find customers more than anything else, right? Because if they don't find customers here, they're going to leave, right?
Yeah.
And more often than
Yep.
not, they're going to leave down south, right? And then we're going to continue to see the same trend that
Yep.
we saw for the
Yeah.
last 15 years. That
Nothing's going to change, guys. It's going to be
Yeah.
the same shit show.
Exactly.
Yeah, I do think like so. I think the reason I made that appeal too is I think in the CPG space, folks who have been fortunate to work in this industry, they know a lot of them do want to give back, and then most of them don't quite understand how to translate those skills into something real world. I think this is one of those moments that, like, if you are a key account guy and you're thinking, I got these skills and they're very specific, but you can actually give back specifically now, right? So now it's $5,000 in. You get a chance to use your tier 1 training, right? Like all that pedigree we talk about to look at some companies with a critical eye, and then contribute to a group, right? So one, you help the group make money, you make some money for yourself, and then you help a Canadian company, with
it's all good, man.
critical funds, because we talk to, like, I think, Jesse, you're the same, is like we talk to brands every day that are kind of like, I make wicked product. And you're going, great. We would love to get, where do you want to go? I want to go to Save On. I want to go, that there's an arc there for where you want to go. But they go, but I don't have enough money. So I can get to Save On maybe, but then I got to stop because I can't, that cash flow cycle isn't big enough for me, right? So I can only get to one retailer, then I got to wait and I got to grind that out for a few years. This is that chance, right? These are some of those companies that are going to level up that you could help with that contribution now to be able to drive, bigger growth, right? So, I think it's cool what you're doing. This is
I'm glad you got it.
Yeah.
You definitely hit the nail on the head on what we're trying to achieve.
yeah.
And I'm looking forward to hopefully my inbox being inundated with a few emails here from folks.
CPG people, get on it.
Yeah.
Don't do it while you're listening to us in the car, but as soon as you stop the car.
Don't donate and drive. That's like
I can give you my number. You can call me right now.
that's awesome, man.
Yeah.
No, that's awesome. Awesome. We love this. You should, I don't know how, so in your process, you should send us your brands. We'll interview them on this show.
Absolutely. Yeah.
We could
happy-
podcast a lot of people because we do want. I mean, it's Canadian. Seriously, let's go.
One I'll shout out because I got a chance to have them just the other day. 7 Summit Snacks.
Okay.
Great company out of Edmonton. If you haven't tried them out before, doing some great work on chocolate, functional chocolate for energy. They're going to have a new product in the protein space released soon. You heard it here first. So check them out. Obviously, the folks over at Vegan are great. We've got the folks on ToothPod are in our. I don't know if you check them out. One of those remineralizing gum companies for oral care.
That's cool.
Great company. Those
Jesse, just introduce us, email, and we'll line them up, and let's go.
do it.
Not Vegan. We know Vegan.
We know Vegan.
It's true. Actually, we should have gotten her on already.
A long time ago.
We
I don't
haven't.
know why we didn't do that.
Come on, Kenny, get on that.
That's usually
And Melissa, if you're listening to this, get on this show. Come.
Yeah, I forget.
Faster, Melissa. Jesse, thanks for doing this.
Jesse, man, that was awesome, buddy.
We love this a lot.
Yeah, thank you. This is
Thank
great.
you.
Thank you for having me on. So released on Monday is the plan.
Yeah,
There we
next
go.
Monday. We're gonna jump you a little bit just to try and get you out earlier. So maybe
especially if there's a
maybe
little
we
bit of a
squeeze some
deadline,
people in
let's
there.
see.
Yeah.
Let's see if
Sounds
we
good.
can. You might even get some interesting people saying, "Hey, can we come on the next short list when we not? Let's go."
Yeah.
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 Well, and same with the companies, right? Like companies welcome to apply. We're open to everybody. Just at the end of the day, I don't make I'm one investor of the 20, 30 investors, right?
That's not what they heard
people
here.
always like, help me
That's
get
Not
mine.
what they heard here.
Jesse is the big gun. Let's go.
They're all getting in their cars and driving to Saskatoon. Like, where is he?
Where's this Jesse guy?
Let me pitch my product. So
Yeah. This is great.
That's amazing. Thank you.
So are we wrapping up then?
Yeah.
Yeah, we can stop recording now if you want.
Yeah.
Thanks for listening, everybody.
Thanks for listening.